When I was thinking about my favorite shows of the 2000s, especially my favorite comedies, Scrubs, if it's not in my top 3, is probably my favorite comedy of the 2000s. If I was ranking my favorite shows overall in the 21st century, Scrubs is definitely in that top 10, if not top 5. I love that show so much. It kind of speaks to me because it's almost like I'm a big fan of the movie Airplane. So it's almost like Airplane in a hospital with a lot of heart. And I just love the relationship between Zach Braff and Donald Faison. Like, they became friends. They met on the show back in the day, and they've been best friends ever since. I think Zach is even godfather to a couple of Donald Faison's kids. And we've been seeing them over the years in these T-Mobile commercials. So it's almost like we're getting like this Scrubs Light thing with Donald and Zach. So when they said the show was coming back, it's like, yay! It's like, oh no. Because when the show initially ended, it ended in a spinoff. And the spinoff, I think Zach Braff might have been in it. But it features Dave Franco. I like Dave. Dave's fine. And Eliza Coupe. I don't see her much anymore, but I like Eliza. But the writing wasn't the same. And I was worried if the show was going to be rebooted, will Bill Lawrence, who created Scrubs, will be back. But I think he's off doing Ted Lasso. But luckily, they brought on an original writer from the show. So he's writing and producing the show. And initially, when you watch those first 2 episodes, I said, man, we are back to 2006. I don't think the show is as hilarious as it was the initial run, but it's witty and it has a lot of heart and a lot of depth like the original. In episode 1, for instance, Turk, played by Donald Faison, was telling JD about the weight of being a surgeon. And Turk was always a confident, brash guy who sometimes had some insecurities, but his confidence always won out. And this was like the first time, like, being a surgeon is tough because that's life and death. And now he's a dad. Him and Carla, played by Judy Reyes, they got like $3, $4. So it's like the weight of being a dad, the weight of being a husband, the weight of being a surgeon is caught up to him. And then on episode 2, JD, he had took over for Dr. Cox. Dr. Cox, played by John C. McGinley, said, I'm leaving and you need to take over. Because the way Dr. Cox was in the 2000s is not the same, because he was a hard dude and you can't be this hard guy anymore. Because of Vanessa Bayer, who came from SNL, she said, oh, you can't say that. Gotta take it down. So Dr. Cox being Dr. Cox, he can't be Dr. Cox in 2026. So he said, JD, you have the temperament of this job now. And in episode 2, he was talking to a young intern because the young intern was trying to help this patient. He got upset because he couldn't help him with his finances. And JD said, okay, I'll help you out, but you have to understand you can't help every patient. You know, it's like you'll just burn out that way. And these are conversations that Dr. Cox would have had with JD, a young, goofy JD in the first Scrubs. And the same thing with Dr. Kelso, rest in peace, would have said the same thing to JD in the first incarnation of Scrubs. So there's that. Elliot is back, and we have to unpack Elliot and JD's marriage because they got divorced. So it's so much going on this show. And I mentioned Judy Reyes. Judy Reyes played Carla. She's Turk's wife. I miss Judy, but she's on High Potential. So she's reoccurring. I think John C. McGinley, he's reoccurring. We didn't see Janitor. So I think Janitor might come back, but he has stuff. I think he's on Shrinking. So it's good that the cast is all still working. And they got some younger cast members who are good. They're interesting. They have interesting characters. They'll never top the original cast. That original cast was perfect. So this new cast is fine. But I think, again, the writing is solid. It's witty. It has a lot of depth and a lot of heart. The thing I don't like, it's not about the show, is Variety. Variety magazine has been on my S list ever since they did that review of Sinners. When Sinners first came out, Michael B. Jordan and Ryan Coogler, it made like $60 million. And Variety was saying, well, there's a big advertising budget. And they basically was saying like Sinners wasn't going to make a lot of money. And Sinners not only was probably one of the most profitable films in 2025, it's one of the most nominated films in 2026. So take that, Variety. So now they added again with Scrubs. I saw an initial review of Scrubs and they said it was Millennial Cringe. It's like, Millennial Cringe. First of all, before we get into that, there's another character that I like about in this new one is Dr. Park. Because I mentioned Janitor before. Janitor was an interesting character initially for JD because Janitor was JD's nemesis. But Janitor just like picking with JD because he just found it funny to pick with this young intern. Dr. Park is a totally different guy. He also hates JD. But when Janitor was having a lot of fun, Dr. Park actually wanted Dr. Cox's job, and Dr. Cox gave it to JD. So now he's plotting to do anything he can to get that job away from JD. So in a lot of ways, Dr. Park is far worse than Janitor, which I never thought would happen. But back to Variety. So Variety said that this new Scrubs is Millennial Cringe for some reason. And the one thing I despise about these young writers is they're trying to take 2020's ethics and put it back on the 2000s. The one thing I notice about any of these critiques of the 2000s is that it doesn't matter if it's like fans of something or writers, they always want to relitigate the past. And they were saying about the new Scrubs, they say, well, it's Millennial Cringe. They said that it's not as good as The Pit. Well, The Pit with Noah Wiley is basically ER 2.0 because it's from the creators of ER. It's an updated, it's like Noah Wiley's character that we see in The Pit is the evolution of John Carter. John Carter, when ER first started, he had Dr. Benson, he had Clooney, he had Anthony Edwards. Like he was like the low man on the totem pole trying to hang with these ER doctors. Now he is that guy. And plus, The Pit is a drama. It's not a comedy. And then they also said, well, it's not like St. Dennis. St. Dennis is a fine comedic show. I like St. Dennis with David Alan Grier. But it's a different show with a different cast, different feel. The fact is that, well, it's not like St. Dennis or The Pit. That's like me saying, me watching Andy Griffith show. It's like, man, why isn't this show like Miami Vice when I was a kid? I would never say something stupid like that. Variety. But I digress. But I will say with this Scrubs show, it might be my second favorite reboot. Usually when these reboots come back, some are not that great, some are pretty decent. My favorite reboot was The X-Files with Gillian Anderson and David Duchovny and Chris Carter of The X-Files. I don't know how long ago now, maybe 10 years ago, close to 10 years ago. That reboot of The X-Files was magnificent. And I was so sad because they never came back. But, you know, Gillian and David, they did their time. Like, you wished X-Files would stay on forever. But they did their time as Mulder and Scully, so you understood it. But that's, to me, is like the best reboot. The 24 reboots with Kiefer Sutherland, and they had a second reboot. They were good, too, but they never came back. So if this Scrubs, with his heart and his witty writing and his depth, continue to grow, I think it might be my second favorite reboot and may become my favorite reboot over the past 15 years. So if you've seen the latest Scrubs, what do you think? Were you a big fan of the other Scrubs? How you feel about this new one? I hope a character they bring back, as just once in a while, is Elizabeth Banks. Elizabeth Banks was JD's girlfriend for a while, and I've always enjoyed that. I'm a big fan of Banks, and it'll be a nice thing for her to pop up, just as we're trying to unpack the divorce of JD and Elliot. I need to get into that. So yeah, if you watch the first 2 episodes or 3 episodes or 4 episodes of the latest Scrubs, what did you think? And were you a big fan of the old one, or did you watch the new one without seeing the old one and say, wow, this is really good?